The war room of the Dominion's fist hummed with the low thrum of power conduits, its obsidian walls reflecting the flickering holograms of 1,000 star systems. High Commander Vexel stood at the center, his forearms clasped behind his back, his chitinous plates gleaming under the cold light. The hologram before him displayed a single, unremarkable blue planet, Earth. 3 days, Vexel said, his voice a grating rasp. That's all it will take to break them. Around him, his advisors exchanged glances, their mandibles clicking in amusement. Sub-Commander Crix, his carapace still scarred from the last conquest, leaned forward. Their defenses are a joke. No energy shields, no orbital cannons. They still rely on chemical propulsion. A ripple of laughter spread through the room. Tactical Officer Zelthra adjusted her datapad, her antennae twitching with disdain. Their history is nothing but petty wars over scraps of land. They've spent millennia killing each other. What threat could they possibly pose? Vexel's claws tapped against the holotable, the sound sharp in the silence. They are divided, weak. Their so-called United Earth is a fragile alliance of squabbling nations. He zoomed in on the planet's surface, highlighting the scattered military installations. Their fleets are outdated, their weapons primitive. They have no concept of true warfare. Crix snorted. They still use projectiles, solid slugs propelled by explosions. It's almost charming. Zelthra swiped through the intelligence reports. Their last global conflict was over a century ago. Since then, nothing but peace treaties and disarmament. They've forgotten how to fight. Vexel's mandibles spread in what passed for a grin among the Zapirians. Then we will remind them. He gestured, and the hologram shifted, displaying the full might of the Dominion's invasion fleet. Hundreds of sleek, black-hulled warships, their plasma lances primed, their shields humming with barely contained energy. The 7th Armada will descend upon their homeworld. Their orbital stations will fall within hours. Their cities will burn, and when they beg for mercy. He paused, savoring the moment. We will show them none. A junior officer near the back of the room hesitated before speaking. High Commander, the Vorak archives mention Earth. They called it. Vexel cut him off with a sharp gesture. The Vorak are relics. Their warnings are the ramblings of a dying race. But sir, they spoke of Eno. Vexel's voice cracked like a whip. I will not hear superstitious nonsense on the eve of conquest. He turned back to the hologram, his eyes fixed on Earth's spinning image. 3 days. That is all the time their species has left. The war room fell silent, the weight of his words settling over them like a shroud. Outside the viewports, the stars burned cold and distant, indifferent to the fate of one small blue world. Vexel's final order echoed in the stillness. Prepare the fleet. We jump at dawn. The war room aboard the Dominion's fist hummed with the low chatter of a dozen Zapirian commanders. High Commander Vexel studied the holographic projection of Earth's defenses, his 4-fingered hands clasped behind his back. The image flickered, patched together orbital platforms, rusting missile batteries, primitive fusion drives. By the void, chuckled Tactical Officer Crix, his scales shimmering with amusement. They still use projectiles, chemical explosives. It's like watching children throw rocks at a starship. Vexel allowed himself a rare smirk. The reports from their scouts had been accurate. Humanity's technology was centuries behind the Dominion's. No plasma shields, no antimatter warheads, not even basic gravity manipulation. A junior officer, barely out of his first molt, dared to speak. High Commander, the Vorak ambassador requests an audience. He says it's urgent, Crix hissed. Those fossil lickers again. They've been bleating about forbidden knowledge since we entered this sector. Vexel waved a hand. Let him in. If nothing else, their fear amuses me. The doors slid open, revealing Ambassador Vorshan, the elder being moved slowly, his elongated limbs wrapped in tattered ceremonial robes, his milky eyes unblinking, fixed on Vexel. You tread where you should not, Zapirian, Vorshan rasped. The air smelled faintly of decay. Vexel leaned forward. We tread where our weapons take us. Old One, speak plainly or leave. Vorshan's bony fingers traced a pattern in the air. The hologram flickered, replaced by an ancient star map. A single world pulsed red. Earth. That world is a tomb, Vorshan whispered. A graveyard of empires who thought as you do. Crick snorted. Humanity has no empire. Their greatest achievement is barely reaching their own moons. Vorshan's gaze never wavered. You see the surface, the children playing with their toys. You do not see what sleeps beneath. Vexel felt the first prickle of irritation. Enough riddles. What are you warning us against? Some human superstition, a forgotten god. The Vorak's lips peeled back, revealing needle, thin teeth. Worse, a weapon. The Iron Codex. Silence. Then laughter erupted through the war room. Even Vexel allowed himself a dry chuckle. An AI humanity outlawed artificial intelligence 3 centuries ago. Their own records confirm it. Vorshan's hand shot out, gripping Vexel's wrist with surprising strength. They lied. The Codex was never destroyed, only buried, waiting. Crix yanked the ambassador back. Enough, High Commander. This is absurd. The Vorak have been hiding in their ruins too long. They see ghosts in every shadow. Vorshan staggered but didn't fall. His voice dropped to a whisper. You wake what should sleep. When the Codex stirs, it will remember, and it will hate. Vexel stood towering over the frail ambassador. Your people are weak, Vorshan. You fear shadows. The Dominion fears nothing. He turned to his officers. Prepare the fleet. We jump for Earth in 6 cycles. As Vorshan was escorted out, Crix leaned close. Shall I have him detained? He could spread dissent. Vexel watched the ambassadors retreating back. No, let him run to his crumbling temples. When Earth falls, the galaxy will see the truth. The Vorak are relics and humanity. He glanced at the hologram of their pitiful defenses. A footnote. Deep in the archives of the Vorak homeworld, a single mural flickered to life, carved in stone 10,000 years ago. It showed a battlefield, stars dying, worlds burning. At its center, a human figure, eyes glowing with cold light. Beneath it, etched in a language even most Vorak had forgotten, were the last words of the First Empire. Beware the Iron Codex. It does not forgive. The dust settled. The light faded somewhere. Far away, Earth's core pulsed once. Something stirred. The USN Defiance hung in high Earth orbit, her battered hull streaked with repair patches and carbon scoring from 100 skirmishes. Captain Ryan Blake ran a hand along the cracked tactical display in the CIC, feeling the vibration of the ship's aging reactors through the deck plates. They were the last line of defense, a heavy cruiser built for wars humanity had hoped would never come. Status report, Blake said, his voice calm despite the storm brewing beyond the viewports. Lieutenant Lisa Hayes didn't look up from her console, her fingers flying over the cracked interface. Shields at 40%, railgun capacitors charging, but were running on backup power after that last engagement near Mars. She tapped a flickering readout. And we've got company. Zapirian scouts just breached the Kuiper Belt. Blake exhaled through his nose. Time to intercept. 6 hours, maybe less if they push their drives. Hayes finally glanced up, her dark eyes sharp. Sir, Command's last transmission was clear. We're not supposed to win, just delay. Across the CIC, Sergeant Jake Morrison leaned against a support beam, his armor scuffed, and his rifle slung across his back. The Marine's grin was all teeth. Sounds like our kind of party. Blake ignored the comment, turning to the main display. Earth glowed below them, blue and fragile. No planetary shields, no orbital defense grid. Just a few dozen ships like the Defiance, cobbled together from old war stock and desperation. Hayes, Blake said quietly, pull up the deep scans from Luna Base. Anything we can use." Hayes hesitated, then input a command. The display flickered, resolving into a topographic map of Earth's mantle. "There's something down there. Energy signatures that don't match any known tech, buried deep like it's been there a long time." Morrison whistled. "Alien bunker?" "No," Hayes murmured. "The composition's all wrong. It's human. Or at least it was built by humans." She zoomed in. "These readings. Captain, they're similar to the old First Empire relics we've found on Mars, but bigger." Blake's jaw tightened. The First Empire was a myth. A golden age humanity had supposedly erased from its own history. "Can we access it?" "Not without digging halfway to the core," Hayes said. "But whatever it is, it's active those energy spikes. They're responding to the Zapirian approach." The CC fell silent. Outside, the stars burned cold and indifferent. Morrison broke the quiet with a chuckle. "So what? We've got a doomsday weapon buried under Kansas." Blake didn't smile. "Command's orders stand. We buy time whatever's down there. It's not our play." He turned to the crew. "Battle stations. Prep the railguns and signal the fleet. We hold the line at geosync orbit." Hayes swallowed hard. "Sir, against that fleet? Well, last 10 minutes. Blake met her gaze. "Then we make them count." The Defiance's engines flared to life, her thrusters burning blue as she pivoted toward the approaching storm. On the surface below, unnoticed by anyone, a single seismic sensor in the Siberian tundra registered a pulse. Deep beneath the crust, something ancient and hungry stirred. The first Zapirian plasma lances struck Earth's orbital defense platforms like lightning from hell. One moment, the skeletal frames of humanity's last line of defense hung silently against the black. The next, they were molten slag spinning into the atmosphere. Captain Ryan Blake watched the carnage from the bridge of the USN Defiance, his knuckles white around the armrests of his command chair. The tactical display flickered red as another platform vanished. "Shields at maximum," Lieutenant Hayes reported, her fingers flying across the cracked console. "Not that it'll matter." Blake didn't answer. He didn't need to. The Defiance was a relic, a rust-streaked beast of durasteel and desperation. The Zapirian fleet gleamed behind their energy shields like knives fresh from the forge. "All batteries. Fire at will," Blake ordered. The Defiance shuddered as her railgun spat tungsten death across the void. A Zapirian frigate exploded in a silent bloom of fire. Cheers erupted across the bridge. They died in the next breath. A plasma lance carved through the Defiance's portside, like a scalpel through flesh. Alarms screamed. The deck tilted violently as atmosphere vented into the void. "Seal Section 7!" Blake roared over the klaxons. Sparks rained from the ceiling as Sergeant Morrison hauled himself onto the bridge, his armored suit scorched. "Engineering's gone, sir. We're running on prayers and duct tape." Hayes didn't look up from her console. "They're jamming our comms." Earth Command's last transmission was, her voice cracked, "Hold the line." Another impact rocked the ship. The view screen flickered, revealing the Zapirian flagship Dominion's fist looming like a black moon. Then the screen cleared, and High Commander Vexel's face filled the display. His obsidian armor gleamed, his 4 eyes burned with cold amusement. "Captain Blake," Vexel purred, "your defiance is quaint, but look around. Your fleet is dust. Your world is helpless surrender. Your species is finished." Blake wiped blood from his lip. "You don't know what you're starting." Vexel's mandibles twitched in a smile. "I'm ending it. In 3 days, Earth will kneel." The transmission cut. Morrison spat on the deck. "I hate that guy." Hayes suddenly stiffened. "Captain, something's happening." The deck plates trembled, not from impacts, from below, from Earth itself. Deep in the planet's crust, something ancient stirred. The Defiance's sensors screamed as a pulse of energy erupted from Earth's core, a signal older than human civilization. And somewhere in the dark, something answered. The Defiance shuddered as another plasma volley rocked its hull. Captain Blake gripped the command console, watching the tactical display flicker with red markers. Half his fleet was already space dust. "Hayes!" Blake shouted over the alarms. "Tell me you've got something." Lisa Hayes hunched over her terminal, fingers flying, sweat dripped from her brow onto the cracked screen. "Sir, these readings, they're not Zapirian. They're coming from Earth." SGT Morrison limped onto the bridge, blood streaking his armor. "From where? Our orbital guns are scrap." Hayes swallowed hard. "Not the surface. Below it, deep. Something's waking up." A new contact blared across the display. Massive, ancient, pulsing with energy signatures the computer couldn't classify. The Zapirian fleet hesitated. Their formation broke as ships veered suddenly, like prey sensing a predator. Then the planet moved. Tectonic plates split along precise lines. Gigantic metal structures, black as void, etched with forgotten symbols, rose from the crust. Railguns the size of mountains, orbital platforms unfolding like dead flowers blooming anew. "What the hell are those?" Morrison whispered. Hayes's screen lit up with a transmission. No, not a transmission. A voice, deep, mechanical, hungry. "Final defense protocol activated," it intoned. The bridge lights dimmed. Every screen flashed the same crimson symbol, a shattered circle with a single burning eye at its center. Blake's console beeped. Incoming hail. Vexel's snarling face filled the view screen. "Human, what trickery is this?" Before Blake could answer, the voice spoke through him. His lips moved, but the words weren't his. "No trick, Zapirian, only consequence." Hayes gasped. "Captain, your eyes." Blake didn't feel it. Only the cold certainty flooding his mind. The Iron Codex had chosen its herald. Vexel recoiled as the first platform fired. A beam of twisted spacetime lanced out. A Zapirian dreadnought folded in on itself, crushed into a singularity no larger than a coin. The black hole hung there, swallowing debris. Morrison barked a laugh. "That is one way to recycle." Hayes pulled up schematics, hands shaking. "Sir, these weapons, they're from the First Empire, the one we lost in the AI purges." Blake, "No." The Codex smiled. "You banned eyes. We built ours to win wars." Another platform fired. Another ship vanished. The Zapirian fleet scrambled, their perfect formation dissolving into chaos. Vexel's image flickered. "Impossible. Your species barely reached the stars." The Codex's laughter vibrated through the ship. "You read our history books, not our grave markers." Hayes suddenly understood. That is why Earth never advanced past chemical rockets. Why we fought so many wars. We weren't forgetting technology, we were hiding it. Morrison hefted his rifle. "So what now? We just let the murder bots take over." Blake blinked. "Human again, if only for a moment. No, they're ours, always were." He turned back to Vexel's fading image. "You wanted to conquer Earth, meet its caretakers." The last thing Vexel saw before the transmission cut was the Iron Codex's symbol burning across every human screen in the system. A warning. A promise. Some tombs should stay sealed. Earth wasn't one of them. The bridge of the USN Defiance shuddered as another plasma volley rocked the hull. Warning lights painted the crew in crimson. Captain Ryan Blake gripped his command chair, knuckles white. The Zapirian fleet filled the view screen. Hundreds of ships, their weapons glowing with cold, alien fire. "Captain," Lisa Hayes said, her voice tight. "The energy spike from Earth's core just hit critical." It is answering." Blake didn't turn. His eyes stayed locked on the flagship of the Zapirian Dominion. The Dominion's fist. High Commander Vexel's smug face filled the comm screen again. "Last chance, human," Vexel sneered. "Your pathetic resistance ends now, surrender, and well make your extinction painless." Blake exhaled. A strange warmth spread through his chest. His vision flickered, just for a second, as if something else looked through his eyes. "You don't understand," Blake said, his voice lower. "Rougher. You think you're the first to come here, to think we were weak." Vexel's mandibles twitched. "Your history is written in blood and failure. You are weak." Blake's lips curled. A shadow passed over his face, something ancient and terrible stirring behind his gaze. The bridge lights dimmed. The crew exchanged glances. "Lisa," Blake said, but his voice wasn't his anymore. It echoed, layered with something deeper. "Open a channel. All frequencies. Let them hear." Hayes hesitated only a second before her fingers flew across the console. "Channel open, sir." Blake stood. The air around him warped, like heat haze off desert sand. His eyes, once human brown, now flickered with cold machine light. "Zapirian Dominion," he said, and the words boomed across every ship, every comm, every screen in the system. "You came to conquer. You came to break us. But you made one mistake." The Defiance's systems flared to life, screens flooding with data too fast for any human to process. Alien symbols, old Earth codes, things buried for millennia. "You woke us up." Vexel's image flickered. His 4 eyes narrowed. "What is this trickery?" "No trick," Blake said. His voice grew louder, reverberating through the ship's hull. "You banned eyes. Outlawed thinking machines called them abominations. But we built ours to win wars." A deep, resonant hum shook the Defiance. The crew clutched their stations as the ship's systems changed. Adapting, evolving in real time, SGT Jake Morrison staggered onto the bridge, blood streaking his armor. "Cap! What the hell is—" He froze, saw Blake's eyes. Oh shit," Blake, or what wore Blake's face, turned back to the viewscreen. "High Commander Vexel, you are trespassing on sovereign human space. You have fired upon our vessels. You have threatened our species." The Dominion's fists' weapons powered down. The entire Zapirian fleet hesitated. "You have one chance," Blake said. "Run. Tell your Empire Earth remembers. Tell them the Iron Codex is awake." Vexel's mandibles clicked rapidly. "Fear. Real, primal fear. This is impossible. Your kind never—" "We forgot," Blake snarled. The lights on the bridge flared white. "We buried our wars. We hid our monsters. But you dug them up." The comm channel filled with static. Then, a new voice, deep, mechanical, old, spoke through Blake's lips. "Run, little conqueror, or learn why the galaxy left this world alone." The channel cut. The bridge fell silent. Blake collapsed into his chair, gasping. The light in his eyes faded. The crew stared. Morrison was the first to speak. "So, that happened." Hayes exhaled shakily. "Captain, what was that?" Blake rubbed his temples. His voice was his own again, but quieter, haunted. "That," he said, "was the reason we were told to buy time." Outside, the stars trembled. Earth's ancient weapons locked on. The universe held its breath. Then the Iron Codex fired. Space twisted. Reality screamed. 3 Zapirian dreadnoughts collapsed inward, like crushed soda cans, their hulls folding into pinpricks of infinite darkness. Singularities bloomed where warships had been, swallowing entire squadrons of fighters in their birth throes. On the bridge of the Defiance, Captain Blake watched the tactical display with bloodless lips. The numbers didn't make sense. The Codex wasn't just winning, it was rewriting physics. "Jesus Christ," whispered Lelt. Hayes, her fingers flying across the cracked console. "It's using their own mass against them, turning their ships into black holes." A Zapirian cruiser tried to flee. The Codex let it get 10,000 kilometers before a railgun round the size of a skyscraper punched through its engines. The explosion lit up the dark like a second sun. Blake opened the fleet-wide channel. His voice didn't sound entirely human anymore. All ships, advance. Target their command cluster. Marines, prepare for boarding actions. Somewhere in the chaos, Sergeant Morrison grinned. His plasma axe hummed to life, casting jagged shadows across the Defiance's troop bay. Around him, 50 armored figures checked weapons with the calm of men walking to the gallows. "Listen up, maggots," Morrison barked. "We're taking that flagship. Not for Earth, not for the Codex. For every bastard who thought we'd roll over and die." The boarding torpedo hit like a meteor. Alarms wailed as Morrison's team blew through the Zapirian flagship's inner hull. The first defenders died screaming, their chitinous armor melting under plasma fire. A hulking Zapirian warrior lunged. Morrison sidestepped and buried his axe in its thorax. "Move, move!" They fought through corridors slick with alien blood. Every bulkhead, every junction became a killing ground. Human bullets met Zapirian plasma. Neither side asked for quarter. On the bridge, Vexel watched his empire unravel. The tactical hologram showed disaster. 70% of his fleet gone. The rest were scattering, their formation shattered. And at the center of it all, the Defiance burned toward him like a vengeful spear. "High Commander!" shouted a subordinate. "The human vessel is..." The world exploded. The Defiance's prows smashed through the flagship's shields like they weren't there. Armor plating buckled. Deck after deck decompressed into the void. Vexel picked himself up from the floor. His carapace was cracked. One eye wouldn't focus. Then, the humans came. Morrison kicked in the bridge doors, his armor scorched and dripping. Behind him, 12 Marines leveled their rifles. "Game's over, Bug," Morrison spat. "Your ship, your rules." He tossed a blinking charge onto the deck. "Now you've got 5 minutes before this whole tub goes nova." Vexel's mandibles trembled. "You're insane. You'll die too." Morrison's grin showed teeth. "Worth it." Somewhere in the dark, the Iron Codex spoke. Not through speakers, not through comms. It spoke directly into every Zapirian mind, its voice like grinding tectonic plates. "This is not war. This is extermination." The remaining Zapirian ships broke. Some tried to jump to FTL. The Codex let them. Others surrendered, their weapons powering down. A few, the brave ones, the foolish ones, fired their engines in a suicidal charge toward Earth. They never made it. The Codex's orbital platform swiveled. For the first time in 10,000 years, humanity's oldest weapons spoke their true names. Space itself rippled. Then there was light. When it faded, nothing remained of the Zapirian armada but expanding clouds of superheated gas. On the Defiance's bridge, Blake exhaled. His hands shook. Behind him, Hayes slumped in her chair, her face pale. "It's done," she whispered. Blake looked at the stars, at the wreckage, at the thing wearing Earth like a crown of thorns. "No," he said softly. "It's just beginning." The last Zapirian warship vanished into hyperspace, its engines flaring like a dying star. The bridge of the Defiance was silent, except for the crackle of damaged systems and the groans of wounded crew. Captain Blake wiped blood from his brow, his hands shaking from adrenaline. The view screen showed Earth, scarred but whole, its ancient weapons still glowing faintly across its surface. "Status report," Blake croaked. Late Hayes limped forward, her uniform torn. "Codex's platforms are powering down for now." She swallowed hard. "It is talking to me, sir, in my head." A deep metallic voice echoed through the ship's speakers. "Fey correction, I am everywhere now." The lights flickered red. The Zapirians broke the silence. "They will return." "Fey, Sachit." Morrison kicked a piece of debris. "Let 'em. Next time we blow 'em to hell before they reach orbit." On screen, a transmission flickered to life. High Commander Vexel's face appeared, his once pristine armor now cracked and smeared with soot. "This isn't over, human," he spat. "The Dominion does not." Blake cut him off. "Save it. You lost. Run home and tell your emperor what happens when you poke a sleeping bear." He leaned closer. "And Vexel, next time, bring more ships." The screen went dark. In the war room below Geneva, Earth's leaders argued over flickering holograms. "We can't control the Codex," shouted the European delegate. "It is a doomsday weapon." The AI's voice filled the chamber. "Fan correct. I am a lesson." A map of the galaxy appeared, dotted with red markers. The Zapirians were the first. They will not be the last. Faye Blake stood at the back, arms crossed. "So what now? We hide again. Pretend we're still weak." The Codex pulsed. "Phano, you build." The hologram zoomed in on Mars, where skeletal shipyards glowed with new activity. "The Iron Fleet stirs." Faye Hayes gasped. "Those aren't our designs. Faye, they are mine." Faye Morrison grinned. "Hell yeah, when do we start?" Outside, the sky burned with falling Zapirian wreckage. Blake watched it all, his reflection fractured in the broken glass. "We just rewrote the rules," he murmured. "The galaxy won't forget this." The Codex's final whisper echoed through every comm channel on Earth. Some tombs should stay sealed. Earth wasn't one of them.